Welcome back to Rich or So, Mike Michalowicz. It's great to have you join us again today.
It's a joy to be with you. And I told you off air I wanted to say why I'm dressed like I am. I'm in a hoodie. I could look like Eminem and do some rapping if I wanted to. Uh, I've been traveling so much for this new book. I did get back not yesterday, but the day before, and I haven't had a chance to take a shower yet. It's been back-to-back interviews and stuff. And so I'm just going to show up stinking like Lincoln to Rocky's Richer Soul show and just share. I want normally I want to show you the respect, and I would dress much more appropriately than this mess.
It's quite all right. I just got back from travels, and one of the biggest ahas I think for me is I don't like travel. Like
Mm,
as much as it seems exciting,
mm,
it's work, it's effort, and then
yeah,
it's not so much when you're traveling, it's when you get back. Right? All the things that you now need to do that
yeah,
you can't even get a shower in. Like it's
yeah. There's a stack off my side here, a stack of all the mail. I got to sort through junk mail and bills and checks. I found something out when traveling. I used to be the guy. I travel so much now, but back in the day, I'd get on the plane, walk back toward economy, and pass the first class passengers. I'm like, oh, their life is so special. We all get there at the same time. They're blowing their money. Now I realize the most miserable passenger on the airplane is sitting in first class. So those people get upgraded because they are flying all the time. I'm upgraded to first class, I would say 25 to maybe even 50% of the time on flights now because I fly so stinking much. So show pity for the first class people. They're miserable. They're more miserable.
I traveled first class back and forth. But it's not because I travel a lot. It's because my wife says, shut up, we're sitting up front. Pay the bill.
Okay, no, so you actually pay for it. I don't pay for it. I just fly so much that they say, well, you're spending so much with our airline for the standard tickets. Here's a little upgrade, pal.
And the problem is I don't fly enough that even though we have status, you would get in front of me. And
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wife's like, no, 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 no. We got to get in front of Mike. So you're
So
just going to
we're paying.
stroke the
Yeah,
check.
it's the fast pass at Disney. Just if you're willing to pay more,
Yes.
if you're willing to
Yeah.
pay more,
And so when it's appropriate, I will pay more. In
I
other
like that.
words, sometimes it's really expensive and sometimes they know they're going to give the seat away to free for Mike. So if they get $100 for me,
Oh, they'll take a hundo.
they'll take the 100. So I'm cool with that.
That's smart to navigate that way. I do have one rule for first class when I will pay is if the flight is over 7 hours. Because if it's over 7 hours, it means it's outside of the continental US. And I will be in pain just sitting on my rump the whole time. So that's when I will drop, my wife will drop, $1,000 or more to get the upgrade because I'll tell you, once you do a lie flat on a plane, there's nothing that compares to that. When you can go sleepy sleeps on an airplane, it's like laying down your side, you've arrived.
I agree with you. Also, like to be at the front of the line so I don't have to fight to get on, and I don't want to fight for my overhead bin space.
Yes, yes.
And I want to go sit in the lounge before I get on. So my wife has taught me how to enjoy life and
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah,
the
yeah, you're
money.
right. You're right. It's worth it. It's
It's
fun.
worth it.
It's
And
worth
if you know how to play the deals, I mean, with credit cards and
Oh
this and
yeah, yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it's pretty reasonable.
Which actually kind of
So
speaks
it's
about
all
the
good.
subject we're going to talk about today. There's a lot of dangers with credit cards. They're wired around our behavioral componentry. So I know we're talking about the money habit today, so I want to give you a little teaser as one of the big challenges when it comes to financial independence, which I define differently than financial freedom. Financial freedom is where you can do what you want when you want with no care for money. Financial independence is authority over money, so you're not constrained by it. So it's slightly different. And one of the biggest restrictions or reasons we don't achieve financial independence is because we don't know how to preserve money, to hold on to it and channel it appropriately. And credit cards are one of the major reasons. If I own a credit card company, I want you spending every dime you have because I want you beholden to me. So spend, 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 baby. And I'm going to lock my claws into you. And for the rest of your life, you're going to be paying for it through interest and so forth. So they use behavioral trick after behavioral trick to inspire you to spend, which includes points, little upgrades here and there. And for the average Joe, because you said if you know how to manage it, the average Joe and Jane does not know how to manage it. And that cost for that free, quote unquote, free upgrade over their lifetime costs them tens of thousands of dollars in interest. And it repeats over and over again. You can pay hundreds of thousands or millions in interest over a lifetime from the day you get your first credit card until the day you bite the dust. And it's because they're trying to manipulate us. And so we need structures to navigate that.
That we do. I think one of my biggest ahas was it takes a skill to make money. And it's not a skill that everyone has. What I didn't realize is there's a second skill after that. And that's the skill to be able to keep money.
Mm-hmm.
And that is even rarer than the ability to make money. So you see a lot of people making 6 figures, 7 figures. And when you look at their bank account, there's no money in it, because while they know how to generate income, even amongst that group, they still don't know how to keep money. And it comes down to a lot of these psychological things that we're going to talk about today.
It's rare, but it's hiding in plain sight. And I would say both are. The ability to make money is hiding in plain sight. And I'll tell you the real short solution. Do the work that makes you come alive. You will make a lot of money that way. You'll make the most you can. Most people say, well, I hear there's a lot of money in fill in the blank. And so we pursue a career path or something. But the reality is it's the top 5 or 10% of any market, any industry that make the majority of money. So therefore, the better question to ask yourself is, what makes me come alive? What makes my heart sing? Because you'll naturally be so driven in that category because it makes your heart sing. You'll naturally gain the talent. And therefore, you'll probably be the top or one of the top performers. And that there's money associated with that. It's not guaranteed by any stretch, but that's what's hiding in plain sight. And when it comes to keeping money, what's hiding in plain sight is to categorize it before you give yourself access to it. What is the intention of this money before I spend it? And once we have that awareness, we become remarkably more effective at keeping money and utilizing it the right way. Money isn't, there's a thing called the miser syndrome. And the risk is, and in the book, The Money Habit, I have a story about a dude who was the inspiration behind Ebenezer Scrooge. And while he made millions and possessed millions, he was living a hard life. He was eating spoiled food because it was cheaper to eat food that no one else would eat. He had a substantial injury, an accident where he broke both legs, and he decided it was cheaper to fix one leg and walk on it and let the other one heal itself because it was cheap. And it becomes a mental disease. So we can actually over control it. Money is like, I think, more like proper breathing. You must inhale, but you also need a disciplined exhale. If you race, you're going to hyperventilate. If you hold your breath, you're actually going to lose oxygen. If you exhale all, you're going to die. But there is this rhythm that we need to bring about. And I think with the proper guardrails, we can, regardless of your income, achieve a lot in our financial independence.
And that's true. It doesn't matter how much you make, because at every income level, somebody's surviving and somebody's surviving on less, which means you could, at your income level, survive on less, and that little bit grows tremendously throughout. And it is big. And just understanding that. I will say the work I do now lights me up. And I know that nobody can beat me, because I know at 6 o'clock, they're going home. And I'm picking up another book to learn my craft, to be better at it than
you love it, right?
anybody, because I love it. And people are like, what are your hobbies? I'm like, my work is my hobby. And they look at me weird. I'm like, you know what? That's okay. And so my work and my life are intertwined in the sense that I can even turn it into my vacation. And so it's fun.
The key to mastery is repetition, practice. And I play guitar, and I've been playing it for, since I've been a teenager. So now 40 years of playing guitar. And for 38 years, I played the same few things over and over. So I practiced very few things. It was they call them cowboy chords, so you could play along with the song. 2 years ago, I said, you know what? I'm intentionally going to elevate my game here. I want to learn how to solo, to write my own stuff. And what that required was 2 things. One, to not continue to repeat the first year lesson over and over again. So, time of doing something does not show progress. You have to challenge what you've been doing, because what you've been doing, if you stick with it, will continue to get the same result. The second thing is, when you apply whatever this new learnings are, it's through repetition that you'll become masterful at it. So I've been playing guitar on average, I'd say an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours a day, every day for the last 1.5 to 2 years. And my performance has increased exponentially. I can solo now. I can do so much more. But it's this stick-to-itness. When it comes to our financials, I think too many of us are looking for, I've been doing a certain way for so long, it's not working. I want that quick magic fix. I'm going to do one thing and everything's fixed. And the reality is, you do one thing that changes your trajectory, but now you got to stick with it. And that's the hard part, is actually just repeating it. Even if it's a simple process or simple system, you have to stick with it. And it's over that time where you master and form a new identity of who you are. I see a lot of people trying to adopt or adapt to a new system. And when they move over, they say, I have to put the effort in now. It's easier to go back to the prior effort, because I know that. Even though it sucks, even though it's not getting me results, at least it's comfortable.
That it is. Or the first time they hit a little bit of friction,
Ugh.
they give up and it's done and they go back to it. I will say because we were hanging out last year in your backyard around this time, and you brought out the guitar. You were doing
I
well
did.
then. So I'm
I did.
sure you're doing even better.
I'm doing a lot better now. So the last time we were jamming out, I think there's a couple other people that were playing. That's where around that time frame, like before, I'm like, I'm going to start getting better. So recently I was in a jam session. This guy, he's a pretty accomplished guitarist. He's like, damn, you've gotten better. And it became a more enjoyable process. But the process to building that has been tough and frustrating. Times I want to throw down a guitar and say, oh, it's really worth going through what's called an exercise called the spider, where you're moving one finger at a time. And it's really a difficult process. And then it got better and better at it. Now it's like, oh, that's kind of actually a fun process.
Speaking of guitars, there is the story of how to build that habit. And what they said is lay your guitar on the table in front of the couch. Because if it's right in front of you where you can pick it up, even if it's in the corner, you won't get up and go to the corner. But if it's sitting right in front of you, the habit just happens to be there automatically. And it's taking the friction away and making it.
I call it a behavioral intercept. That's not the proper technical term, but it's a compliance device. I do exactly that. So I have multiple guitars, and they're in the areas I gather. So off the camera here to my right, there's some guitar sitting here. This is where I do my deliberate practice. But upstairs, next to the television, in the corner, is another guitar. And when my wife is like, hey, let's watch a show together, I'm just going to get ready for bed first and I'll come out. Well, it's a 10-minute window. I'm like, you know what? I'll jam out for a little bit. And so I play the guitar for a little bit. I have one in our bedroom, which if I so I don't play that too often because there's a lot of sleeping going on. But if my wife isn't around and she's traveling with friends or something, and I wake up in the morning, I'm like, God, let me just start playing right away, or putting myself to sleep, playing my own guitar, and intercepting your pattern. I think the big mistake that I did in the past is I had a music room, but it was a different room. I had to walk to that room to do it. So now there's this conscious effort and a decision needs to be made of where I'm going to direct myself. Well, with money, the money habit is set up that money is pre-categorized before you spend it at your bank. And the reason I do this, and this is absolutely consistent with Profit First, I've surveyed now for the money habit, 1,000 people that I've worked with, not directly, but indirectly or some very directly, and found when I surveyed them, how do you manage your money? Do you know how to reconcile your checking account? And most people say no. I'm like, great, don't fight that, acknowledge it. How many people have a budget? Well, I tried, and I'm like, how many people are using it? And be honest, like, not really. That spreadsheet, I don't go to it. I said, what do you do? Well, I log into my bank account and I see how much money is there. I'm like, perfect. Now we know where the couch is. We know where the television is sitting. We're going to put the guitar right there. And so we set up multiple accounts at the bank level with different intentions, carve up your income or household income as it comes in. So now when you go to where you naturally go, you see what's available to play with. I'm just trying to link it back to the guitar analogy, but you see what's available for what purpose before you spend it. It takes subconscious spending of money to a conscious utilization of money.
And we'll dig more into that. Out of curiosity, I mean, you've spent your time writing a lot of books, but they're all in the business space.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write a book in the personal finance space?
So this dude, Tommy Mello, called me, and he owns a garage door installing company and service. And he deployed Profit First in his business to great effect. I can't attribute that it turned around his business or save it. I don't know if that's the case, but it drove way more profitability in his business. And he called and said, I have a new challenge. And what it is, he goes, my employees are asking for raises, asking to borrow money. And the reason is they're not able to manage their current funds. And it was true for Tommy, but it's true for so many entrepreneurs is we try to accommodate that. These are great people that are working for us. We want to serve it, but it'll take our business down. We can only afford so much. And he said, I realize they need a financial education, just like I got one for my business. Would you teach my people Profit First? Now, this had always been in the background of my mind that I need to do this. I've been doing this for myself personally for almost 20 years, but I never had that compulsion that I got to teach it. And it was that call finally that pushed the ball over the goal line, whatever the analogy is, but it got me motivated. And that's now quite a few years back. I taught it to his company. He has 900 employees, by the way, give context. It ain't a small company. Did it with another company. They have about 250 employees, an accounting company. And then started doing it with small businesses and teaching their employees. And individuals started reaching out. And so that's how it came about. I would say, Rocky, the biggest worry, they say most of men live their lives in quiet desperation. It's very kind of on Walden Pond type of Thoreau type of thing. The reality is, for most of us, the quiet desperation is an insecurity around our finances. There's others, but that's a huge one. I read a study saying somewhere about 45 to 50% of the human population is worried about their financials in any given moment. Do I have enough money to pay for groceries today, or whatever it is? And like, this is the constant drone. If we can assert authority over it, I'm not saying make more money. That most people think the solution is if I could just earn more. Well, if you don't know how to manage the current income, you're not going to be able to manage a bigger income. If you don't know how to properly lift 20 pounds of weight, don't put 100 pounds on and say, now I know how to lift the weight. So what we need to do is build authority and control over our current finances. And then as more finances are introduced, as you learn to make more or earn more, then you have that authority for life. So that's what we did with Tommy. And I'll tell you, it transformed the employees that I got to work with. The feedback was tremendous. And it also allowed the entrepreneur to benefit from something magnificent. Employees coming to work without worry, which means they can be more all in on their job. And so that's why for the first time in my life, I'm writing something outside of just pure entrepreneurship.
You know, it's funny. I work with a lot of business owners, and clearly we're always focused on profit and doing that. But one of the conversations I've had with them, and sometimes we'll even do classes for our company's employees, and it's still a struggle. I'm like, if your employees don't understand money and how to spend it themselves, how are they going to make you profitable? They don't understand in your company that you have to do these things because they're not even doing it in their personal life. So of course they're not going to help you make money. And the other thing is, I have found employees tend to be incentivized to spend money, not to save money. Very few companies will go to their company and say, hey, if you save money in this department, we'll give you a bigger bonus. They all go, you have to hit your budget. So they're all like, spend the money, because if you don't spend the money, you get in trouble. And if you don't buy the perceived best, like nobody got fired for buying IBM, right?
That's right.
Even though IBM was 4 times the price and half the value,
half the output,
quality,
yeah.
Nobody was willing to take the risk because they would get in trouble. I'm like, you've got to train these people, because if you don't train them, how are they going to help you row your boat? You're going different directions. And then on top of that, if they are financially savvy, then a flat tire is not going to prevent them from coming to work because they bought new tires, because they could afford new tires. It wasn't the struggle that it is. And so I very much am a big believer in.
That's a brilliant observation. Think about hiring your CFO, and she's horrible with money at home. She, home finances are a total mess, and now she's the CFO of your company. There's an incongruence there. We want an individual that knows it innately. And this is true for your team too. So yeah, entrepreneurs should be and seem to be very motivated for their employees to master their finances. Yet the default is often, if I can just pay them more. I've never seen anyone fix this way. There's another observation from the book I wanted to share because I thought this was interesting. There's a belief, and it's mythology, that lottery winners generally are miserable after the lottery win. And the reality is some are not. And so why is that the case? What the research that I was doing identified is that if a lottery winner wins money but has no financial acuity or experience or knowledge or ability, is probably the best word, prior, it amplifies their bad habits. They like to spend on whatever, and now they really spend on whatever. And they actually tank faster. Conversely, lottery winners that had a system to manage their current finances, regardless of the status or the income they were earning, when a large tranche of money came in, they had a system to control it. And it actually did improve their lives. Because money is an extraordinary tool. That's all it is. It allows you to express or experience more of what you desire or who you are. So it may be a bad analogy, but I say if someone has an addiction to drugs, gambling, alcohol, and you give that person tons of money, they don't all of a sudden solve those addictions. They amplify. It's like, oh, I got all this money. Let's go booze it up, or whatever. Firstly, if someone lives a life where they use money to secure their future or prepare for future events and live in the moment and enjoy those trips, like that we were talking about earlier, you give that person a lot of money, those trips can become more expressive. They may feel more, they may properly serve for other unexpected elements of their life. They may have that automatic balance. So wherever you are, the lesson is this: wherever you are today, we must master your money. It's not about your income. It's about mastering the management of any income. And then if we amplify your income, that can only help. But even if your income never increases, if you've mastered it, the sense of security it has, the sense of knowing, is nothing short of extraordinary.
And that's why I was very intentional with teaching our kids money habits
Oh,
and
that's
how to
great.
deal with them, because we knew they were going to grow up with parents who were well off, and we didn't want them to be spoiled or have expectations and so forth. So it was the same thing. You have to be intentional with this. You have to teach the habits. And if you teach them young, they just become ingrained, and they learn not to be consumers. They learn to be intentional purchasers of the things they love and not get sucked into all of it. So I'm a big believer in that. Out of curiosity, does this book differ from Profit First philosophically, or is it pretty much the same types of principles applied to the personal side?
There are universal principles that translate over. Principles like removing temptation. If something's put in front of us that we shouldn't have access to, or would harm us if we have access to it, don't put it in front of yourself and remove its access. So I argue with the necessity to have an emergency fund, because one of the most predictable things in life is an unpredictable event will happen, and money can help it. If it's a health scare, if someone else says that's in need, if there's a mandated vacation from the work you do because you got fired, like the unexpected happens. So we remove temptation. The envelope system is a universal principle, and this is just a digital manifestation of it. You can do this at your bank, but you set up multiple accounts, envelopes, that indicate the intended use of that money before you use it. So instead of having one block of money that came in, today's deposit, you do carve up that money into these different accounts so you know what money is intended for what use. And while it doesn't solve the problem completely, you may still say, you know what, let's go out to dinner tonight, and you take it from your mortgage account, and the end of the month happens and you can't pay your mortgage. But what it does do is it makes that decision a very conscious decision. Because if we have all the money blobbed together into one account and you go out to dinner and then you can't afford your mortgage in a month, you'll say, I don't know, I was just using my money. But now you have clarity over it. So there are some universal principles, but there are some distinct, unique differences. What I was doing as I was researching this and deploying it, what I discovered, I should say, is that there's a seasonality to personal finances that we go through. Our identities people take on and hold on to that harm them. Like, I'm not good with money is a very common one. I stink at math is another. I have debt is actually one of the most dangerous things to say. And so I do these identity shifts. Don't say you have debt, say you're in the recover season. And why that's such a significant thing to state and believe is a season is a temporal state. It has a time where it'll come to an end. But if I have debt, it means I possess something. Just like I have kids. Are you not going to have kids one day? Even if they pass away before you, you still have kids. It's part of your identity. So to say I have debt also means I will forever live in debt. So there was these kind of behavioral shifts. One thing a lot of people do not know about my work with Profit First or the Money Habit is, while it's the practical system, it's all rooted in behavioral psychology, behavioral tendencies, neuroscience, whatever you want to call it. I don't speak to it much in Profit First. In the Money Habit, I speak to it more. But everything's based upon how are we as the human being wired, and how can we work with our natural tendencies as opposed to try to fight against them to achieve the outcome we want, which is financial independence.
I got lucky in that when
What's
I
your
got
name?
out of college.
What's your name? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I should let you finish.
When I got out of college, I set up multiple bank accounts and I started saving and doing this automated thing of, hey, I know I'm going to be making money, and then this is my long-term savings, retirement. This is my midterm, and then this is kind of like my emergency or whatever. And I did mess up because at some point my recurring charges got so big that I was squeezed. And I went, recurring charges bad, get out of recurring charges. But because I set that up at 21, it guaranteed my success. Now, I didn't do it because I knew what I know now. I did it because that's just kind of what I was taught. That's how you do things, kind of like the envelope system. And it worked out phenomenally. But I also noticed, like, even with a credit card, and I know you talk about this, I would look at my credit card bill at the end of the month, it'd be thousands of dollars. I'm like, what the hell did we spend on? And I'd go down line by line, and they were all 2-digit numbers. It was $20, $40, $60, $20, $30, $60. I'm like, how the hell did we spend thousands of dollars a little bit at it? So that just was also an awareness. And then the third thing is I kind of learned to have the opposites. So I go to Costco, even to this day. I don't even watch TV. but I'm a techie. So I walk in, there's like a 90-inch beautiful TV. I'm like, oh, I got to get the TV.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I can get the TV or I could do this. And because I had this to offset the TV, I could be okay with not having the TV because it was something bigger I chose to want.
The Costco example is so interesting because I want to talk about the person that's trying to get us to buy. Costco is very specifically designed to lay out the same way. You can go to any Costco anywhere in the US, perhaps globally. I don't know if they exist outside the US. And when you walk in, immediately through the entrance, often slightly off to your right, will be electronics. And why? That is because that's the most addictive consumable for male consumers. So you will see it right away, and right eye is generally stronger than the left eye. So they don't put it on the left side, they put it on the right side, and you get pulled toward it. And they're baiting us like this. For the female consumer, is it jewelry? I can't remember what it was, but there's going to be a shiny object that attracts the female. So if it's jewelry and electronics, I'm a male consumer, so I only recognize electronics. But if there's a female, or for the females that are listening to the show, I'm curious what you see first. Well, we have to understand that all organizations, including us, when we sell to others, we're trying to optimize to get someone to buy. So I'll show you a little trick I have, and this is great that you mentioned it. So I have a card here, and so in the Money Habit, I tell people, get another credit card, which sounds like the total antithesis of a personal finance system. And on this card, I hope it doesn't show my number, it doesn't. It says the word subscriptions. I scrolled by marker up top here. I moved all of my subscriptions to this one credit card. It's not used for any other purpose. So my Netflix account, and I'm a huge sports fan, almost at it, and so I have the FUBU feed and all these different things for sports. But the gym membership, the gaming thing, whatever your subscriptions are, the sellers of those want to entice us to buy it. So what the glitz and glam they can do is, well, if you have a low entry life point, only $19.99, or maybe sell it for, first month is only $1, and then sell them. What they do is they say, well, we'll give them at a low entry point, and we'll set the number just low enough that it's not painful when they see it. Secondly, they're going to put in their credit card, so it's going to be immersed or buried with other purchases. So you're going to go through it and say, I have a $1,000 credit card. What was the $300 I spent here? You're going to ignore the $19.99. So it's a technique. But when you move all to your one card of subscriptions, every time I go in, Rocky, I thought I was spending like $200 in subscriptions. When I first did this, it was a $500 of subscriptions, my internet cable and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it brings about the awareness, and awareness comes pain. With pain comes investigation, which brings about clarity. And then I'm like, oh, I don't need this subscription. I have this thing called Hydro, which is like a rowing machine, $50 a month. And I'm like, what am I doing? I can row for $0 a month. Just turn off the screen and just row on that thing. And it's a great device. So I'm saving myself $600 a year in just one thing. Clarity is the first step. And that's just a real simple technique. Put all your subscriptions on one card, and it's going to shock you.
And I know you're a big fan of if you want to clean up all your subscriptions, you just call the credit card company and cancel that card, and then they have to email you. What I've done is for the subscriptions that I'm mediocre about, like I want to try this, but I don't want to get billed in the future. CitiCard actually allows you to create a virtual account number. Perfect. And so I go on, I create a virtual account number. It expires next month. So I can sign up for stuff that if they're going to make it difficult for me to cancel, it's going to get canceled because that credit card automatically is going to expire. And it makes it simple for me. But yeah, I keep a lot of my subscriptions on a separate card too, just because it kind of along the lines you're talking about.
I'm going to look it up because I can't remember the term, but this is a behavioral technique. It's basically setting up traps for ourselves to know that in a future state, we will forget, we'll be weak, we'll ignore. And so we set these traps, and it starts with the letter C. It's like forced compliance. That's not it. I'll figure out what it is. That is the best thing you can do, is know that we will fall to the level of our systems. We won't rise to our aspirations. It's a kind of a bastardization of the work from James Clear, which is Atomic Habits. Your systems matter. And so we got to set up these traps, these methods to ensure our compliance when we're in our weakest state. So I love chocolate chip cookies. I'm addicted to them. And I can't contain myself once that box is open. So a couple things that we do. There's no chocolate chip cookies in our house. And that's one way to contain it. But my wife likes chocolate chip cookies, and she actually has discipline. So she can eat half of one and then walk away. I can't eat half a bin without walking away with indigestion. So another technique is when you get your crate of Oreos or whatever it is to take a little baggie and put 2 Oreos in one Ziploc baggie and do it over and over and over again. So we now start controlling the container. And I know that sounds so wasteful, but now if there's cookies in the house and they're divided up this way, the container is at least controlling my consumption. And so we're doing this. And so I'll stick with just 2 Oreos because the entire container is empty. What we do with money is when that money comes in, it's a big box of Oreos. And we're just going to start chewing and eating and spending as we see fit. But when we break it into these different accounts, so for the money habit, I suggest we have a needs account to cover essentials for living. We have a wants account to cover those mini luxuries. I want to eat out. We have dreams, which are the bigger aspirational things and so forth. There's other accounts too, but we divide the money up. And now when you go to do that spend, you're going to that container. So much so that certain ones, you have a debit card specifically to that container only. So when I go grocery shopping, I don't have my wallet on me, it's upstairs. When I go grocery shopping, we have an account called Needs, and we use that for our essentials. So it covers not just groceries, but also covers some other expenditures, things we need like cleaning supplies or whatever it may be to maintain the house. And I work with that. My wife and I were talking, hey, let's go out to dinner this weekend. So I'm really excited about it because we haven't gone out to dinner in a long time. And we're going to go to one of our favorite steak houses. By the way, thank God, Rocky, I married a woman who likes steak because I love steak. And my wife's sister is a vegetarian, and it would kill me. It would kill me to be married to a vegetarian because it would reduce my steak consumption. So we're going to our favorite steakhouse. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab our wants card, which is our timeout. My wife, timeout together. My wife, she has a slush fund. It's her debit card. And I have one. It's my slush fund. I can buy another guitar on that card tonight. I don't need to ask her, hey, do you have permission to do this? Because there's been money allocated to it to make a decision. Now, for me, it's a small allocation. It's $25 a week. So it's going to be a year or two before I can literally afford a guitar with that. For hers, it's more. Just when we worked the math, we felt the fair system. The beauty behind this is in most partner relationships, when it comes to money management, is one person takes the parental role. I'm the money manager, and another one takes the child role. I will tell you what to do. And so it used to be in my house, I take the money responsibility. I still do. But my wife had to play the child role. So she'd come up and say, hey, I want to go out with friends for lunch. May I go out? She was seeking my permission. Like, oh, you can't have a lollipop today. I'm sorry. It would cause conflict. And I felt like a schmuck being the parent, and she felt like a jerk. She had to ask me. So what happens when you start carving up money, it liberates both of you. You both are in the authoritative position. If there's anyone that is the parent, it's the system itself. So my wife doesn't say, hey, can I go out with my friends? She goes, I have enough money in the account or not. And one of my favorite things that happens every so often is my wife will text me and say, hey, we're a little low on the needs account. We're going to have to cut back on groceries this week. We never had that. That was a conversation. It was uncomfortable before. Now it's such clarity because we have that account that says needs. We know exactly what's there. And my wife is dynamically adjusting without quote unquote knowing money. I would say she knows money equally as well as me, maybe better in some ways because of the system. And it's brought this equilibrium and balance. We are a team now financially, as opposed to one being the team captain or coach and the other one being just on the line.
And I think on the Profit First side, there's Relay, and Relay automates everything for the business side. They're awesome. There are services now on the personal side that kind of do the same thing that Relay does, where you go to the store, you can use the same card for everything, and you have to categorize it. It forces you, or it won't let you use the card again. Yes. Like if you don't pay. And so it helps you to do this in a more simplified way. You don't want to use a system with different cards. There are ways to do it with your bank account, your ATM. I don't know who's top of mind at that, but there are. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to share it?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's called Dream First Bank. So it's this community bank in the middle of the US, but they serve the entire nation, whatever state you're in. And the reason I love them is our team had a call with them and said, here's the problem with people's personal financial. And we built a system called the Money Habit. We want a bank that supports it. And they said, we're going to redesign our banking platform to do this. Now, I was just actually Googling if the website's up. I think it's going to be the moneyhabit.bank. So you can find it real easy. It's not up yet. But because the book isn't even coming out until January of 2026. But in the future, if you go there, it'll bring you to Dream First Bank, and they have a special landing page specifically to set these accounts. But shoot, don't worry about it. Just Dream First, search them and check out their banking system and tell them you want the Money Habit specifically. And you can do it through their website, or you can even call them. They'd love to take your phone call and tell them you want the Money Habit set up. They offer free checking, all this stuff is free, and they're designed for this compliance. You'll get the debit cards that link to it. In fact, we've designed the debit cards So here's a little sneak peek. That is a card that says the money habit, but also has a fill in the blank of what the intention of this card is. So you can write it in a marker and put a piece of tape over it, or you can, so you know the intention of these cards. And it's funny, if you just take this one step, you can do it with your existing bank too. If that serves you better, do it with your existing bank. I just found this is the bank I'm using now, and it's fantastic. If you just do this one step of labeling the intended use of a card and linking it to a special account for that use, you will start controlling your spending habits. And if nothing else, you bring subconscious behavior to conscious awareness, and you'll know how you're managing money. And the first component to financial independence is having conscious awareness, clarity.
I have always been a money geek, so I spent a lot of time in this space. One of the things that might help them is when you get your card, have the card have the picture of the kids on it. Because when people look at a picture of their kids, all of a sudden they behave better.
Oh, I love
that.
Because
they realize, wait a minute, I'm screwing my family by doing this. And so it gives them that pattern interrupt to break the habit to go, is this helping my family or not? And so it's every time you pull the card out, you got to look at it. And you're
the word I was scrambling for was commitment device. The behavioral technique, that's what we're referring to, is how do you prevent yourself when you're in your weakest state? And I love that. The pictures of the kids on the card, when you pull out the card, we're in a weak state. And if that picture's not there, it's like, oh, I got a card. When the kids are there, you have to face the consideration now. There's no avoiding it. So that's consistent with that technique.
And that's the other thing I've noticed. I grew up, when I was young, we used cash. Credit cards weren't the norm, especially today. Everything is tapped, which is wild and crazy. And you don't realize how much goes away in fees in that to the business owner. Astronomical.
Astronomical.
And still to this day, I notice this. If I get a $100 bill, I tend to put it in the drawer and save it.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
That's great.
But the point is, if I had to walk in a store to buy that TV and I had to peel off 5 $100 bills, it would feel so much different than me tapping actually with Costco, I don't even tap my phone anymore. I just hit the yes button on the thing because it's already linked to my credit card. I don't even have to think about it. There's no emotional connection to spending the money itself. And I realize that that's big. Whereas whipping those $100 bills out or seeing that stack of money go down is painful.
That's the classic pain avoidance, pleasure, desire, or gain pleasure, avoid pain. And all businesses are attuned to this. So Costco wants you spending as much money as possible. That's their motivation. And listen, this is not a criticism. I'm not saying that they're being unfair or just. They're an extraordinary organization, but they want your dollar. And they don't want it going to other big box store down the street. So they'll do everything to reduce the pain. So one of them is, once it's in your cart, don't remind the person how much money they spent so far. So a trick to trigger pain and therefore bring conscious awareness is bring a calculator with you. Or you can do it on your phone, but a calculator is even better because you won't get distracted. Every time you put something in there, put in the number. And you can round it. If it's $9.99, just put in 10. You keep adding up and you start feeling the pain as you're purchasing. Another thing Costco does is they intentionally have very large containers. So a large shopping cart. So when you put something in there, the instinct is, oh, there's not much in there. Now, if they gave you a little cart and you put 1 or 2 things in there, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so much. So the bigger the cart, the less pain in the consumption because it doesn't feel like much. These are all behavioral tricks to get you spending more.
It's funny. We just had this conversation the other day. We were all together, and in Costco, you can go see your past spending. I'm like, I go to Costco and my bills are always under $100, which people are looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, how do you walk in and out of Costco for $100? I go, because I only buy what I came for. Because most people walk in.
It's for a shopping list. Like, we've lost that. These stores do not want you bringing a shopping list. They pray you are going to walk in or walk online not prepared, and you'll start exploring. The supermarkets are known for this. I can almost guarantee whatever supermarket you go to of choice, I'm talking to our listeners right now, anyone listening in, wherever you are on the planet, chances are the dairy products are in the back left corner of that store from the door. And the reason is that's the furthest distance from the door, and yet it's a necessity. So for most people, buying milk or eggs is what we consume very often. And so since it's in the back left, what does that do? It forces you through the store, and that's when they are trying to trigger temptation. That bright, shiny Fruit Loops box is right there, lots of colors. Just give it a quick grab. I do it for the kids. I might as well do it for myself. And they want you to start filling up that cart. So they're wired that way. The way to overcome that is a shopping list. What you're doing is you're pre-allocating your consumption plan. You're predetermining it. and therefore you're more likely to comply. And that's what the money habit is. Pre-allocate the actual money to its intended use before you utilize it, and you're far more likely to work within the confines of that and not fall victim for, let's just browse a little bit.
And I'm very much a habit of that. I think we talked about it, and I don't even refer back, but back in episode 7, talking about the U of the grocery store is walk up the left, go down the back, come down the right, and get out. Don't ever go into the middle.
Correct.
And what we did, not for that, but for other purposes, is our grocery list is on an Excel sheet, and the Excel sheet's in the order of the grocery store. So if I'm looking at the sheet, my goal is how can I get out of here as fast as possible? I follow the Excel sheet that goes right through the store. I just pick the things I need and I rush through. And I'm so focused on that, I forget to look at the Fruit Loops, and I stay out of the middle and I don't get distracted. I'm like, I got my 12 things. I got to go because I have something else to go do. It has kept me containered.
I can see you like racing. You put on your best athletic shoes,
Yes.
short. You got a sweatband on your head. You go run around. Yeah. You know what you're doing? It sounds like you're also reorienting your pleasure receptors. Instead of like, ooh, I could have this, your actual reward is like a timer. And those are all techniques, all commitment devices effectively to prevent ourselves from the weak moments.
Yeah, I turned it into a game. So I'm a big fan of helping everyone build wealth. And one of the reasons I love people to build wealth is they're less reliant on the government then. And we don't have all this crazy stuff going on. Like if everyone's rich, they don't cause all this disruption, right?
I have a saying, if everyone's rich, no one will bitch.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I believe the same thing is if every individual had wealth and financial independence and control, I think wars would go away. I think conflict would go away. I mean, nothing's perfect, but it'll reduce things tremendously.
So how do we help you make that possible? What can we ask? What do you like to ask the listeners to be able to do that?
Okay, well, I want to give them the tool to achieve it because listen, if you achieve financial independence, you're inspired to help other people do the same. So here's the technique, and then I do have an ask that will help me. The suggestion for yourself is 2 steps. Step 1, at your current bank or use Dreamfirst Bank, but go to a bank and set up an account. So I want you to set up one specific account. It's an account that addresses your biggest financial worry or wonder. And so simply ask yourself, every day I'm wondering, are we gonna have enough money for the mortgage? Like what do you worry about most? Or maybe it's more immediate. Do I have enough money to put food on the table? Or maybe it's more of a wonder. I wonder if we can pay for that vacation this year. Drones on the most. Set up an account and call it that. So I want to know if I can do a vacation this year. I'm going to set up an account called The Vacation this year. I want to know if I can pay groceries. I'm going to set up an account specifically called Grocery. Step 1. Step 2 is we're going to allocate the necessary amount of money from our income to assure that is addressed when it's needed fully and completely. So at the end, I need every week $300 for my family groceries, which nowadays sounds like actually probably 500, but let's say $300. I'm going to make sure that at the end of every week, $300 is in there. So I'm going to allocate accordingly. Or maybe I get paid once every 2 weeks. I'm going to put $600 into groceries. So every week I go food shopping, there's enough money in there. Here's the power of this. By doing this, you will assure your biggest worry or wonder is addressed and it reduces stress. The second thing is it brings awareness about because you may not have enough money to go out to dinner yet again or whatever the other spend is because we've allocated money to its intended use first. So there's going to be less money in the big bucket. And what happens then is like, oh, I'm spending money on that subscription. I really can't afford that if I want to compare it for my groceries. So while this won't give you financial independence, it'll give you the first step toward it, which is clarity on how you're utilizing money and assuring your biggest worry is addressed. Do that. And I challenge anyone listening in, you can do that today. You can do it. And actually, if you don't do it today, you're in trouble because you'll probably forget it and put it aside and not do it. Do it today. Then just observe your behavioral shift. I just had a webinar yesterday and I had people doing this and I asked them, they did the day before. So I'm like, how are you doing this morning? And like, I feel cleaner, clearer. I have a better understanding. I just feel a little bit of relief. This is just 24 hours into it. What's going to happen over time is you're going to put in more accounts. You'll maybe deploy the entire system, but it's the small first step. That's the big necessary one. The ask for me, if you purchase the book, it is the best of what I know for $30 or whatever it is. It's literally the entire system. There's nothing else. You don't have to get a software subscription too to make this work. You simply just follow the entire script in the book. I emphatically believe, because this is my intent, that'll be the best $30 you ever spend on achieving financial independence. And I expect the return not to be 10 times, I'll make $300. Like, no, it'll be a lifetime of transformative things. I hope it makes millions for you, or reserves millions, or helps you manage millions much better. And I will tell you, almost everyone that reads the book will experience millions in their lifetime. Not that they're going to earn more, but the average earner in the US as of today earns $50,000 a year and is employed for 40 years. That's $2 million. So you are managing millions of dollars over your lifetime for sure. And so go to your favorite bookstore, online retailer, whatever it is, get a copy of The Money Habit. I think it will be transformative for you. And it would mean the world to me. The more people who are ordering the book or pre-ordering the book, it triggers the Amazon algorithm and the Barnes and Nobles and the Books A Million and all the different systems out there to start marketing the book to people who have a similar avatar as you, because that's how those places are optimized. So your purchase selfishly also supports me in getting the word out to other people. And so that's a second component of why I ask people get a copy of the book.
And that's what we're big about, helping people to build their wealth, not by enrolling in expensive programs,
right,
but by using just simple, common sense things that you can implement on your own without spending money to be able to achieve wealth. And at the end of the day, it's always about the simplicity. Wealthy people leave me alone. And so I get a better life and things are better and the world is better. And it's really not that hard. And I think that's what people don't understand is how much this stuff compounds, and it doesn't take long, but you just got to start.
Yes, sir.
Any closing thoughts for our listeners?
Your children, the next generation, learns from what you do today, not from your words, but from your actions. And if you want your children to be good with money, you got to get good with it.
And that is very much the case. And the last time we were on, we asked you about how you grew up with money. So it's in the previous episode, but we're always focused on that conversation of how do you teach people about money and how do you help them to build wealth. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Rocky, thanks, brother.
Hey, thanks for checking out the full unedited video of the Richer Soul podcast. You can get the full audio podcast with intro, outro, and a ton more details here on YouTube or whatever your favorite podcast player is. Don't forget, we've got hundreds of episodes for you to go back through, and you can also get episode information on the Richer Soul website as well. Don't forget to subscribe so you're automatically updated as to what's going on and every time we release a new episode. The first few episodes of the Richer Soul podcast actually lay out the entire framework that everything is built on over all of these years. So check them out as well. Thanks for listening.